In April 2026, I found myself back in Japan with one thing left on my list: Mount Fuji. This wasn't my first time seeing Fuji. Over the years, I'd caught glimpses of it from the Shinkansen traveling between Tokyo and Kyoto, and I'd even visited the area before. But every time, something was missing. The mountain either wasn't visible or it didn't have the iconic snow-capped summit that most people picture when they think of Mount Fuji. This trip was a little different. Our first stop of the day was Lake Yamanaka, and almost immediately, I knew booking this tour had been the right decision. Mount Fuji was fully visible, and for the first time in several trips to Japan, I was finally looking at the mountain with the snow-capped summit I had been hoping to see. The view across the lake was incredible. As if that wasn't enough, the area was also home to several swans and the famous swan-shaped sightseeing boats that have become one of Lake Yamanaka's trademarks. It made for a pretty memorable start to the day. After spending some time taking photos and enjoying the view, it was time to move on to our next stop. Our next destination was Oshino Hakkai. This small village is famous for its crystal clear ponds, traditional buildings, and some of the most picturesque views of Mount Fuji in the region. The ponds here are fed by snow melt from Mount Fuji, filtered naturally through the layers of volcanic rock before emerging as some of the clearest water in Japan. Walking through the village almost feels like stepping back in time. Traditional buildings, wooden walkways, and Mount Fuji rising in the distance create a scene that feels almost too perfect to be real. Oshino Hakkai was also where we stopped for lunch. There were plenty of vendors selling local foods and snacks, but one thing I quickly noticed was that many of them only accepted cash. If you're planning a visit, it's definitely worth carrying some yen with you. Between the food stalls, the clear ponds, the traditional architecture, and the views of Mount Fuji, this ended up being one of my favorite stops of the day. The third stop was the most recognizable location around Mount Fuji, the famous Lawson convenience store. This location became incredibly popular online because of the unique view of Mount Fuji rising directly behind the store. However, things have changed a bit. Due to the large number of visitors gathering across the street to take photos, barriers have been installed that block much of the original viewpoint. So while you can still visit this location, it's not quite the iconic photo opportunity that many people remember from social media. Our next stop was Lake Kawaguchi. If you've ever seen photos of Mount Fuji reflected in a lake, there's a good chance they were taken here. The area offers some of the most iconic views of the mountain and is one of the most popular destinations for visitors exploring the Fuji region. The lake, the surrounding mountains, and the view of Fuji all come together to create a scene that feels calm and relaxing, even with plenty of visitors around. Lake Kawaguchi is probably the most famous of the Fuji 5 lakes, and after seeing it in person, it's easy to understand why. Finally, it was time for the location I had been looking forward to the most, Chureito Pagoda. If you've ever searched for photos of Mount Fuji, you've probably seen this view before. The pagoda overlooking the city with Mount Fuji rising in the distance has become one of the most iconic images in all of Japan. Getting there requires a bit of work. From the base area, visitors need to climb roughly 400 steps to reach the observation deck above the pagoda. Fortunately, there are plenty of places to stop along the way if you need a break. As I made my way up the staircase, the anticipation started to build. The pagoda itself appears before you reach the observation deck, offering some incredible views and photo opportunities. But the real reward waits at the top. For those who don't want to take the steps, there is a sloped path that takes you up. When I finally reached the observation area and looked out over the city, there it was, the view I had been hoping to see for years. After multiple trips to Japan, several train rides past Mount Fuji, and previous visits where the mountain either wasn't visible or didn't have the snow-capped summit, I was finally looking at the classic Mount Fuji view I had been chasing. At that moment, every weather forecast I checked and every bit of uncertainty about booking the tour felt completely worth it. I spent the next little while simply taking it all in, taking photos, walking around, and appreciating a view that I had been hoping to experience for a very long time. Sometimes travel is about discovering something unexpected. Other times, it's about finally experiencing something you have been trying to see for years. For me, this was one of those moments. Looking back at them now, it's hard not to appreciate just how fortunate the conditions were that day. Mount Fuji was visible from the moment we arrived. The weather cooperated, and for the first time in all my visits to Japan, I finally got to see the snow-capped summit that had eluded me on previous trips. After years of trying, I finally got the view I wanted. Thanks for watching.